infections, different types of illnesses, as well as much stress that our bodies manifest and also absorb as we internalize the stress, can play havoc on our extremities as well as our hair. And sadly, many times our hair is the first to go. Hello. You are in for a treat today. It's Kimberly V coming back to you with most of your questions that you've been sending in to the show regarding causes for hair loss. So today we're going to focus on the top 5. Even though there are truly 18 causes of documented hair loss, it's just a little too much, right, to try to pack into one episode of our little podcast here. So let's stay focused on the top 5 and let's jump into it right now. I want you to understand something. The term alopecia strictly means hair loss. So when you hear that term, either from a diagnosis, from a physician, from a healthcare provider, or you Google it on Dr. Google and you find more information online, I want you to understand again that the term alopecia only means hair loss. It doesn't identify the cause, the type, or anything more than that. And I also want you to understand that alopecia truly came from the Greek word back in the 14th century that truly was referring to a fox that had lost their hair due to a type of an infection. So I don't know, go with it. It's what it is. But I just think it's important for everyone to understand that because the term alopecia gets thrown around a lot. And I want you to know what's going on. Because if you're listening to our podcast, we want to make sure you're informed. The first form of hair loss and cause of hair loss that we're going to discuss today is going to be genetic hair loss, aka androgenic alopecia, aka female pattern hair loss or balding, which I don't like that term, aka male pattern hair loss, balding. We need to understand something. First of all, androgenetic alopecia can be an acronym, if you will, and you'll see it across many of the search engines and many of your investigation work as AGA, again, androgenic alopecia. The second is female pattern hair loss. So female pattern hair loss, many times you will see as the acronym of just simply FPHL, and then for male, not so different, MPHL. These conditions are always going to be brought on and caused by and triggered by your family tree. Now, we could take this a lot further down, and is it your mother, is it your brother, is it your grandmother, your Bob, the neighbor next door that might be related? We're not going to go there. We just need to understand to identify genetic hair loss. These are the 3 forms that are predominantly in the media or that what you have heard of or what you could be experiencing. When we talk about these 3 forms, we need to understand something. AGA, androgenic alopecia, is really the overarching parent of the two of the female and the male pattern loss. When we're discussing female pattern loss, we need to understand it's really all revolving around the areas of the hair loss. So meaning a female or a male that is losing their hair from the frontal hairline down to the temples, over the ears, and also across the back and the nape can truly be experiencing female pattern hair loss. Even though you're a male, you can still experience female pattern hair loss. The second one is a little bit easier, right? Male pattern thinning is going to be the traditional pattern. Some people used to call it a horseshoe pattern or a crown pattern. Bottom line is it's top of the head. So it can start from the crown and work itself forward, or it can certainly start from the frontal hairline and work itself back. So cause number 1, genetic hair loss. Cause number 2, we're going to talk about is autoimmune hair loss, or AKA alopecia areata, alopecia totalis, alopecia universalis. These are all forms of an autoimmune condition that the body is responding against itself, and it's truly causing the hair to stop growing, whether it is alopecia areata only on the top of the head in patchiness or spots. Believe it or not, alopecia areata or AA can also be found across the beard area and differing areas all throughout the entire cranial area of the scalp. Then alopecia totalis is when we're talking about hair loss from the neck, eyelashes, eyebrows, and then the top of the head. Alopecia universalis or AU is going to be complete hair loss throughout the entire body. And again, this is an autoimmune condition and is where the body is actually fighting against itself. And the body is more or less telling itself to not grow hair in these areas. There's been a lot of news about treatment on alopecia areata, baricitinib, some alpha reductase 5 blockers, but that's for another episode. Today, we're trying to get to these questions that you've asked so much about and the causes. And so we're going to move on now to cause number 3. Scalp conditions. I think probably in the year of 2023, where we currently are, we have seen and heard more information on cleansing the scalp and detoxifying the scalp than we've ever heard to date. And amen to that. Because if we don't start with a healthy scalp and a clean scalp and a stimulated scalp, then we're never going to get to where we want to be with the growth of our hair. When we talk about scalp conditions, I want to be specific. So we're talking truly about diseases such as eczema, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis. These are conditions and diagnoses that can truly have an impact on the scalp health, first of all, and really throughout the entire body and the skin. And then next, they have a very dramatic effect on what's going on with the hair. So many times we will see splotchiness to where similar, if you will, to alopecia areata, to where you'll see small areas of the scalp that will start to lose the hair. The hair truly breaks off because the scalp is so damaged and so inflamed. So if this is a condition that you've experienced at one point in time in your life or chronic, ongoing, and you can't seem to get a handle on this, definitely seek out some additional testing and seek out some help, definitely from a rheumatoid arthritis specialist or either a dermatologist will help you here. Our next cause of hair loss, which is cause 4, and this is underlying health issues. And so when we talk about underlying health issues, we're really diving into what's going on with the body, right? And to be honest, what's going on with the mind. So we know through COVID, through the pandemic, that infections, different types of illnesses, as well as much stress that our bodies manifest and also absorb as we internalize the stress can play havoc on our extremities as well as our hair. And sadly, many times our hair is the first to go. And so it's really important to dive deeply and understand what is truly going on with these underlying health issues. So make sure that your labs are up to date. Make sure that your mineral checks have been up to date. Micronutrients, amino acids are extremely, extremely important for hair growth, as well as tissue growth and cell proliferation. So we want you to stay focused there. Then we move into the 5th cause. This one's really quite difficult and has a very, very long name that has been notified throughout the areas of the internet over the last 3 or 4 years, thanks to a very great organization that really has kind of pinpointed what's going on. So what I'm talking about here is traction alopecia. When we see this pull and drag on the hair, we see that it causes damage in the actual root of the hair follicle. And so when something's pulled and stressed and torn at for so many years, it starts to really wear down the interior of the follicle or the papilla. And after a while, it really struggles to grow. Sadly, in addition to this, we find that this individual with traction alopecia in this particular form, and so the long term for this is I call triple CA, but it is truly, and I always have to look at my cheat sheet, but it is going to be recognized by central, centrifugal, cicatricial alopecia. So again, CCCA, as I call it, triple CA, is going to be a real situation and can cause permanent hair loss if not taken care of soon. Start wearing their hair natural. It's the greatest thing in the world, and they look amazing. And so I really encourage you to, if you're listening and this is something that you've been doing, I encourage you to try to embrace being natural as much as you can. Now, the subset of traction alopecia is a somewhat of a psychological condition. And so we talk here about really trichotillomania, or a repetitive behavior that is definitely linked to some psychological issues and some compulsive issues. And I share this information just because this is a condition that HPI Hair Partners does see frequently, and we do work with individuals that are experiencing trich, as it's so commonly known, often. And we have some really amazing clients that we've grown up with, and they have grown up with us. And so there is hope. So this is our fifth cause for today, and it is something that I want you to really pay particular close attention to and make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So that's it. Our 5 kind of common, if you will, causes of hair loss that are most prevalent and are most talked about and heard in the news and across social media. So we wanted to touch base on those and get those questions answered for you. And as always, make sure that you reach out to us if you have additional questions where we can help you. And as always, we can't do this without you. We're so excited that you're here. See you later, and make it a great hair day.